Hey everybody, it's jdsimo coming at you again, here from my basement. Yeah, Robbie Robertson just passed away. I'm doing a festival in a month or so with a bunch of pals. It's my buddy Dwayne Betts, who has a great new record out right now. It's his festival up in Wyoming, and it's 3 days, and it's really cool. It's a bunch of really good buddies, and my good pal Jimmy Vivino is like the musical director for it. And so anyway, we were all of us who are on the text thread for it this afternoon, we were going back and forth about like what songs we're all going to do and all that. And Jimmy was like, man, Robbie just died. It was a really odd way to find out, because there's some people in the text thread that actually had like relationships with him and such. And surely Jimmy has had a lifetime's worth of connection with Levon and all that. And so anyway, I'm a huge fan of Robbie's playing in the band, but especially the stuff he did with Bob Dylan, because I'm a really big Mike Bloomfield fan too, and I just love what they did with Bob, both of them. But it got me thinking a lot about band dynamics, the art of band warfare, because as most people are aware of, there was a huge divide between Robbie and the rest of the guys in the band, and at the end of the day, only they know truly what really happened and what was said and unsaid and all that kind of stuff. But I had an interesting thought. So the main crux, from what I understand, of the where everything went wrong came down to songwriting credit. And in bands, this is one of, as a friend of mine, Michael Zimmerman, says, a band is a very delicate ecosystem. It's very delicate. For grown men, or women for that matter, to spend confined, ridiculous amount of hours together, sequestered in stressful or uncomfortable situations for months or years or decades at a time, is hard enough. And then to actually have to do something as personal as make music with a collective of other people and be able to truly collaborate in a way that you can make suggestions and actually make things better, and be able to look at each other and go, man, that fucking sucks, or you're better, you can do better than that, or here's something that I think is better. It's a very delicate situation, okay? And then if you, at least in my experience, not in my personal experience of being in some big successful band or something, but just my observation working with some very successful bands, and being friends with some and being around it, you put a bunch of success or a bunch of money on top of all of what I've just think. I mean, it's just, oh my God, it can just be a big mess on a good day, as it were. But in the band's case, this is an interesting thing is, some bands, the Red Hot Chili Peppers are one that I know of, U2 is one that I know of, who decided at one point, we're completely going to split everything. No matter what, all songwriting is split amongst the band. And consequently, at least to my memory, bands like that tend to stick around. It kind of takes that huge thing that can become a contentious part of the relationship out of the equation, which is interesting, I think. What do y'all think? You can say in the comments, like, you know, because it's definitely something where I'm like, well, that seems to be a way for bands to be able to, because the reality of the situation is, if great success does come, there's more than enough to go around. So it's kind of interesting to me to think that, from what Levon always said about that there were times where Richard or Rick would contribute lines or bits of lyric, or himself in certain regards, and certainly Garth contributed musical ideas. I wonder if, in specific situations where that was true, which I'm sure there were, had that been addressed right then and there, and Robbie shared how that would have changed history, potentially. It's an interesting thing to think about. Because I certainly also understand the kind of going off and writing songs and bringing them to the band, and then the band sort of working on them and arranging them and making them into a polished thing. I definitely understand that. But at the same time, I look at the plight of session musicians over the decades, and, like a great example is, Smokey Robinson wrote My Girl, right? Okay? But he didn't write... Is it My Girl without that? Robert White wrote that from Motown, and one of the three guitar players in Motown. I think his name was Robert White. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. I have a lot of info running around in my head, along with the voices in my head. It makes it hard sometimes. So I don't know. So it's an interesting thing. It's got me thinking about all that, and it's also got me thinking about just how much I love that music that Robbie was a part of, and how important it was, and how important it still is. So anyway. So that's that. Playing, this is an old, meaning old, this is one of the first 1,000 Waterloos that were ever made. I, like an idiot, let go of I had one right out of the gate, and this actually belongs to a friend of mine that, this is from the same batch of 3 or 4 that mine was from, and I'm just... These Waterloos are about the best. I just can't. They're so good. And this has got real dead strings. This is how I like acoustic guitars to sound. But so anyway, this is a great guitar. A buddy of mine's letting me pine over it. I do want to talk about a new piece of equipment that I got. I got this awesome, I think it's called a Buckartie drive, I think is what it's called. It's made by a company called Apollo Approved. They're on Instagram, and it's supposedly a clone of the old Nobels ODR1 that is probably the most notable overdrive pedal here in Nashville, thanks to the love of my friend Tom Bukovac, and also guys like Guthrie Trapp, my friend Guthrie, and many others. But anyway, I never was a much of a pedal guy, really, so I never really got caught up in anything, because I only started really being serious about trying and using pedals just in the last maybe 5 years, maybe. Up until that point, I kind of didn't use anything, a wah-wah pedal, a fuzz, something like that. So I'm unfortunately for you know, things like the Nobels and other sort of, you know, secret weapons, if you want to call them, that are now worth thousands of dollars. I'm way late to the party. So anyway, the guy from Apollo was kind of sent it to me, and I really love it. Like, it really feels great under the hands. So here's my, you know, just my, I'm playing through my normal headstrong, but sounds really good. Sounds really good. Feels really good under the hand too. I don't really use overdrive pedals when I'm just playing normal guitar. I use them when I'm playing slide. I didn't used to, but ever since I started playing this guitar, my Danacaster, well over a year ago, I just, having played Gibsons for like the last decade for the most part, it just gives me a little bit more note. I rarely am up all the way on my volume on my guitar, but this thing sounds really great. So anyway, give it a look. Also, the sweet people at Bluebell Straps in Spain sent me some really nice straps, and I'm weird about straps. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just weird. I like old school looking things, and it's like, this looks like something that like Cornell Dupree would wear in the 70s or something. So I'm into it, you know. So anyway, quickly, what am I into? Let's see. What have I been into? Listening wise, my daughter, she found in the van that we travel in, she found this stack of CDs of stuff, and there's a handful of things in that. There's like a Duke Ellington record, and there's a Freddie King, like the instrumental songs from King Federal, and there's a Magic Sam record in there, record CD rather. But there was a Cobra Records box set that came out like 30 years ago. And it's 3 or 4 CDs, and it's like Ike Turner and the Kings of Rhythm, and Otis Rush and Magic Sam and very early Buddy Guy, and I'm trying to think of who else would be on there. That's the main stuff. And so anyway, been listening to that a lot because she pulled it out and was like, I want to listen to this. And I was like, absolutely, we can listen to that. So I hadn't listened to it in years, probably, you know, I probably haven't popped that thing in probably 4 or 5 years, certainly probably pre-COVID, I guess. But I've had that box set for a long time. So anyway, we were listening to that, which was a lot of fun. And let's see here. I haven't been really watching anything. I mean, I've watched the whole new season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because that's probably my favorite television show ever. So I'm all caught up. I wasn't really that knocked out by this new season. The last episode of the season I thought was totally in character, but the rest of it I was like, slipping. Which, you know, Jesus, what is this episode? You know, this is like season 38 or something, like, you know. I don't quite give them a pass, but I understand they've covered a lot of ground. It's hard work. Let's see, reading wise, I'm just about finished with the Peter Gralnick Elvis book, Careless Love, which is a fantastic read. And that's and the Kennedy stuff is I'm still like knee deep in it. But I finished that book that I was reading, and I've got this. Actually, I haven't started reading it yet, but I've got this book that a friend of mine in St. Louis gave me of a collection of short stories from F. Scott Fitzgerald, which I'm gonna probably start reading tonight. So that's what's up. So, in any rate, rest in peace, Robbie, and rest in peace, Rick and Richard and Levon. And check out the Apollo Approved. And I'm heading out Monday to go out on tour with my buddies Devin Allman and Donovan Frankenreiter. We're going to play a bunch of shows together. I'll have Adam with me. Those will be fun. And then we've got the Horseshoe Music Festival, which I mentioned earlier, which is coming up the first weekend in September. And then there's a couple of one-offs, like we're going to Louisiana, I know, and I think there's one or two others. And then there's we're gonna head west in October. The rest of those dates should be being announced here shortly, but there's a bunch that are already on sale. And then there's another run of dates in November that is about to be announced too, as well as some other stuff. And also a quick update on Kirk. We had a wonderful time hanging. We're actually going to get together and hang tomorrow again. Going to go get some soul food. He's healing up, slow but surely. Thank you all for all the kind words about it. And I really, we'll have all the stuff here shortly of how to send money to him and stuff, because it's definitely a complicated process. So anyway, this is a long episode. I apologize. I hope everybody out there, I hope you're good, and have a wonderful night. And maybe drink a Topo Chico for me and smoke a cigar for me, okay? I think that's what I might do right now. All right, take care. Keep it greasy.